good morning. Tuesday Talks at 10:30. I will wait for a few minutes until I see a couple people on. Let's see here. Oh, there I am. I see me. Are you on? Okay. Sorry I missed last Tuesday. I was traveling. Let me know if you're here by saying hello. I have my other phone down here because I can't always see my comments on this one for some reason. I don't know. But I was traveling last Tuesday, so I wasn't able to jump on. Went to see my cousins in North Carolina, South Carolina. Haven't seen them in years. It was a quick trip, down and back in 2 days, but it was a nice trip. So this is Tuesday Talks at 10:30, where I come to you every Tuesday, and we talk about grief. We talk about death and dying. We talk about wholeness and coming back home. Hello, I do see a couple comments there. And today is going to be the same as any other Tuesday, where we talk about things that are a little difficult to talk about. So I always like to set my intentions before I start. That way you know who I am and what I'm about. And, you know, we'll do a little bit of housekeeping too. I've got some events coming up November 30th. We're doing a gallery reading here at Hip Gypsy Emporium. The gallery that was supposed to be tomorrow night at the Lodges of Gettysburg has been postponed till March. A couple things that were going on, some unforeseen circumstances. But so tomorrow night's gallery has been postponed till March. If you have a ticket, you can always come to the one here at Hip Gypsy November 30th, or your ticket will be good for the one in March, and that's posted. I will be in Bel Air November 27th and 28th, and then back December 11th and 12th. So if you are looking to receive a private reading, or you're looking to go to a gallery reading or an intimate group reading, you know, go to my event page, go to the website, get your ticket, and I'll see you then. So my name is Stacy. I'm an evidential medium. I'm a child of God, spiritual healer, and I have the ability to channel spirit using love and light for my higher good and the higher good of those that God puts in my path. I'm not the medium that says I see death all around you and you're going to be dead in 10 days. My gift, my prayer is that God, that spirit, that angels bring in the most loving message to help your spirit heal. Usually when people come to me, they're either at a crossroads looking for direction, or they want to connect with someone on the other side. So today is Tuesday Talks at 10:30. It is not an angel card reading. It is not a mediumship reading. It's just a time for us to just sit and chat. And, you know, grief comes up all the time with me. We just lost someone very close to us. It was basically like a second mother to my husband. And, you know, as I'm walking through grief again, I walk through grief a lot with a lot of my clients, but when it hits home, it's a totally different thing. And I don't feel as if it should be a different thing, but grief is like that. How do you explain it? I always say it's like this wave of emotion, but you know, when you're at the top of the roller coaster and all of a sudden you go down and like you feel like your heart just drops. To me, that's grief. And the Dalai Lama wrote this quote that says, analysis of death is not for the sake of becoming fearful, but to appreciate how precious life is. And I feel like this quote that talks about an analysis of death enables us to think about talking about death while we're still alive. It's preparing for leaving. It's not being obsessed with the thought of death, but it's being to the point where you are living your best life so that people have stories. If you're going to a funeral and they're like, oh my gosh, I have this story to tell you. I have this story to tell you. And then you go to a funeral and the pastor says, does anybody want to get up and speak or tell a story? And no one gets up. That's like one of my biggest fears. I want there to be lots of Stacy Needenthal stories. Oh my God, you're not going to believe when she did this. Or, you know, my poor kids and my grandkids are going to be like, oh yes, I remember when my, you know, mom showed up dressed like Batman or, whatever the deal was. Or, I feel as if we're put on this earth to live, to enjoy, to experience, and leave behind fun stories, fun anecdotes for our loved ones. And you may agree or disagree with that, but if you're just going through the motions, I feel like you're losing so much precious time. You get up, you go to work, you come home, you eat dinner, you watch TV, you go to bed. You get up, you go to work, and you do the same things over and over again. I feel as if we need to have little surprises in our life. So when you think about grief, it's such this weird emotion. It's the emptiest of homesicknesses. We've gone to camp when we were kids, or we went and spent the night somewhere when we were little, and you had this empty feeling within you. To me, that's grief. It's that you are homesick for the person that is no longer with you. And I feel as if you need to talk about this beforehand. My faith keeps me going, and knowing that all of this stuff that's going on right now in the world, I grieve the safeness that I felt as a kid. Being outside, wandering the streets until the lights came up, drinking from the hose. Those times are no more. And I grieve that feeling safe and having my kids feel safe or my grandkids feel safe. Good grief, we go to a restaurant, I won't even let my grandkids go to the bathroom without me standing outside the door. I don't feel safe anymore. And so I grieve that safeness. But I have faith in knowing that God has a bigger plan, that I am safe until I'm not supposed to be safe anymore, basically. So there's this change that has happened within me, within all of us, and I feel like we are grieving what used to be. And I don't know if that makes sense or not, but we have to find a way to get around this weird emotion. When I think about it, grief gives us grief. I looked in the dictionary, and you know how I do this, and I'm jumping ahead, but grief is described as a deep sorrow. But grief is also described as troubled or annoyance. So like someone is giving you grief about being late, or you were grieving the loss of someone. But I feel like grief gives us grief because it just pops up from time to time. It just sneaks in and takes you off guard. So when I think about that, I feel as if you've spoken to your loved ones about your passing, if you've prepared for that, then there's no unexpected stress for your loved ones except for dealing with the death of you. And I had kind of this funky health scare not too long ago, and it got me to thinking about, I need to write letters. I need to have things in place. I need to be able to do all of this so that when my time comes, my kids just have to go to this book. And I literally bought this book. And this is my sense of humor. This is my dry sense of humor, however you want to look at it. That says, I'm dead. Now what? And I've got one for my husband that says, sorry for your loss. I'm dead. And it has like passwords in there and what my final wishes are, and different songs that I want played or whatever. It has who to contact, all these things that when my mom passed, like I thought, oh my gosh, what does she want to do? How do we want to do this? And so I like the idea of there being this book, because if, God forbid, something should happen to me where my brain goes woo, 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 then I'm kind of at the mercy of what they feel is the best thing for me. And granted, I'm not going to know anyway, but I feel as if it would give them a sense of relief to say, okay, well, here's what Mom wanted. Does that make sense? And I've jumped all over the place with this. Sorry. So my brain's kind of scattered. So kind of just hang with me there. But I want us all to think about appreciating the life that you have. I want you to think about lessening the stress of your loved ones when something happens to you. Like I said, I want to write letters to each and every one of my kids and my grandkids and my, and my husband, and, just so that they have something. I want them to know what my final wishes are. I don't want grief to give them grief. I just want them to be able to process the grief the way that they need to. And it's just so interesting to me that grief and grief, one is sorrow, one is annoyance. And to me, I get annoyed by sorrow sometimes. I'm like, oh my God, I don't have time for this today. Why are you creeping in here? Why are you bothering me with this today? So, gosh, I wish it's one of those things where no matter what I say, no matter how I say it, no matter what anyone says to you, when you are in the throes of grief, you just have to kind of ride through it and try not to get lost in it. You can read all these books on grief that will give you 7 easy steps to walk through grief, right? 5 stages of grief, the 8 stages of grief. Someone has died. How do you deal with grief? And you can read all these things and it will tell you so many different ways to deal with it. But the fact is, your grief is going to be unlike anyone else's grief. And anybody else's grief is going to be unlike your grief. We all grieve differently. Try to allow yourself to swim through it, to float through it, to not let it annoy you. And I know this sounds funny or sounds odd or however you want to say it. But when my mom was sick, I wish I would have talked to her more about what her wishes were, And see, I've got this fly that's annoying me right now. It's giving me grief. And since I had this funky thing that happens to myself, when I tried to talk to family and friends about this, let's not talk about that. And I feel like I didn't talk to my mom about it because I didn't know if she wanted to talk about it or not, 1. And 2, if I talked about it, that meant that it made it so. And Denise and I had this conversation the other day. And, I guess it was last month when I was there. And I just wanted to have the conversation. And she's like, oh, no, I can't talk about that. I'm like, somebody needs to talk to me about this. So God bless her. She put her big girl pants on and she's like, okay, and she listened to what I had to say. But you have to be able, to me, this is my opinion, you have to be able to have this conversation with someone. I want someone to know what my wishes are. That's why I have this book. I'm dead. Now what? That's why, you talk to people about this so that they know what your wishes are. Otherwise, grief is going to give them grief. Not only are they going to grieve the loss of you, but they're going to think, oh my gosh, did I do this right? So many of my clients come in and say, were they happy with the way we had the celebration of life? Were they upset because we didn't do this or because we did this? If you talk to your spouse, if you talk to your family about it beforehand and your friends, then they have a basic idea. This fly is giving me grief. Let me tell you. I don't know if you can see it or not. Hopefully you can't. So I feel as if my goal is to give my friends and family so many Stacy Niedenthal stories at my funeral, party, celebration of life, whatever the hell they want to call it. I don't really care. But I'm hoping that I give them so many stories that makes them laugh so hard because I want them to remember the humorous part of me. I want them to remember that I tried to help as many people as possible, but I also had fun in life. I tried to do as many different things as possible. And I want you to think about what you want your legacy to be. You know, there's, gosh, and I wrote all this crap down. And as I was writing out, like I said, I was all over the place. My brain and my mouth don't quite always work well together right now, but it's coming back. The entire grief aspect, to me, has to be changed or altered. I feel like we need to calm down with the stress part of grief and allow just the missing part of grief. Does that make sense? You know, we want everything to be perfect for our loved one. But if you have the conversation before, everything's going to be perfect. And know that your loved one, the one who has passed, knows you're doing everything possible that you feel that they would love. And they know what your intentions are. So, of course, they are going to love everything that you do for them. Whether it is a funeral, whether it's a party, whether it's a collage, whether it's a certain song. But I feel like we are still here on this earth, and every day that we live is a day closer to our passing. So why would I not, at this stage in my life, at any stage in my life, have things in order for my loved ones? Have a letter for them, you know, a reminder about this or a reminder about that. So there's no way to avoid it. Everyone, somewhere, somehow, you're going to lose a loved one. You are going to deal with grief. And no one is going to have the right words, actions to say to you, for you, about you, to make it easier. At my mom's funeral, my Uncle Bill just came up and just touched his chest and said, you know. And that was all he needed to say to me. That was all I needed to say. Sometimes people just need to know that you're there. You don't have to have the perfect words. You don't have to have the best apple pie. You don't have to, you know, send the most beautiful flowers. They just need to know that you're there. And I feel like I have an idea who's going to be there for me, but I'm not really sure. And it doesn't really matter right now because I'm still here. So I need to make the best out of the life that I have right now so that there's lots of Stacey Needendall stories for when I'm not here anymore. I don't want to grieve grief. I don't want it to give me grief. I want to allow it to bring fond memories to my mind so that I can remember the one that has just passed, who their chapter has ended here on this earthly plane, and now they're moving on to another plane. They're still here deep within my heart. I still have all these memories of them. To me, their life hasn't stopped within me just because their life on this earth has stopped. I need to continue to have that relationship with them through the memories that they've instilled in me. Isn't this funny that I'm just kind of like all over the place? I put here, I feel that coping with loss puts you in your place. It disrupts our sense of what is normal. So, in essence, grief gives you grief. It disrupts you. But hold on, I've got somebody sending me. Please send prayers and healing. I'm dealing with some health issue, diverticulitis at this moment. Absolutely, Bobby. Everybody say a special prayer for Bobby and keep her in your prayers. We've got this great circle of friends and healers right here within Connecting to Spirit with Stacey. So let's send some hearts up for Bobby and keep her in our prayers, dealing with some health issues. You know, and as we get older, we deal with health issues. It kind of wakes you up a little bit. I realized the other day that I'm not this young bean sprout anymore. So I'm not an old fart either. Let me tell you, I had someone say to me, oh, you know, for a woman your age, you're in pretty good shape. Anybody who knows me knows that that didn't go over well. woman my age. Okay, I'm 59. Shut the up. Anyway, that's kind of getting off the trail. So there's a Stacey Needle story. I remember when my mom said, right? So instead of letting grief give us grief, let's allow us to grieve, to remember. Have these conversations before, with your friends and family, so they know what your plans are, or they know what you want. There are some people who are deathly afraid of death. I was for a long time. I didn't understand it, and I still don't completely understand it, but I have a different understanding now than what I had before. But I'm not afraid of it. You might even say I kind of look forward to walking through that door, because those who have gone before me are going to be waiting for me on the other side. I'm not bringing it on, but I'm just saying, instead of feeling like grief is giving you grief, just allow it to sit within you, feel through it, bring those memories through, and allow that love to come. Just lost a step parent last month, my final living parent figure, and not everything was in line, and I'm in state hell. I needed this story today. Well, Bridget, this story is for you then. It's hard. It's really hard sometimes when we don't plan for it. And I know it annoys me. It annoys me that I have to do this, because to me, it doesn't make it feel like it's natural then. I'm pre-planning my death. Well, then how do I have a natural death? How do I allow my children just to grieve and do the things that they need to do? But just like Bridget was saying, there wasn't anything prepared. So now she's dealing with the whole estate thing, with the whole problems with that. So you have to be prepared. Write a letter, have it somewhere that your kids, your family, your friends, someone knows where it's at, so that they know what your wishes are, and that they can move forward with it. I think that's probably... Oh, I didn't read this. So Harriet Beecher Stowe said, "The bittersweet sweet tears shed over the graves are for the words left unsaid and the deeds left undone." And I don't feel as if she wrote this because of regret. I feel like she wrote it so that you would remember to say the things that needed to be said and to do the things that need to be done. As family and friends talk about everything, don't obsess about death, but also be open. Try not to be afraid to talk about it. And it can be a hard thing to talk about, So many times, loved ones who are getting ready to cross, want to talk to you about, dying. And the first thing out of our mouth is, "Oh, let's not talk about that." Well, why not? Why not? Let's talk about it. Let's have a conversation about it. We talk about everything else, for gosh sakes. Why not talk about death? It's part of life. It's who we are. It's our final statement. It's our final legacy. So what do you want that final legacy to be? What do you want the stories to be told about you at your funeral? Right? What have you done? What have you accomplished? What have you said? Who have you helped? There are people probably who pass this world and don't even realize what an impact they had on others, because they were so humble with who they were. They just automatically invited you into their house and gave you food and took care of you and did this and did that without even realizing what an impact that had on you. So, grief is a weird emotion. Nothing that I can say, nothing that I can do can change that. Hold on, I have someone else saying something. I have a friend who is in such grief over the loss of her son that it left her in such a state that she is no longer herself. I try to just be with her and understand, but I miss who she was. And I am in a form of grief for the loss of my friend, who is still alive, but not really. Absolutely. Grief cannot, or can be other things, not just because of death. You can grieve, you get divorced, you grieve the life that you thought you were going to have. You lose your job. You grieve the career that you thought you were moving into. You know, and I know it sounds weird, but you know, my kids are in 3 different locations. I grieve them not being in my house, you know, where we can just have a conversation. And none of them are that far. And, you know, the furthest one away is like 2 hours away. But if I had it my way, I'd have this big house and we'd all be under one roof, or I'd have a lot of property and everybody would be on the same property so that they're close by. I grieve that interaction with my kids. You know, they're still here on this earth. People change. You grieve that, you know, just like Bobby was saying. You grieve who that person used to be. So you have to try and warm up and get to know the person that they are now, still loving the person that they were. And you're trying to be there for them is a great and wonderful thing. But try and not think about who they were and concentrate on who they are right now in that loving way. I can't imagine losing one of my kids. Can't imagine it. Can't imagine losing my husband. You know? I just can't imagine it. So be gentle with them and grieve with them and grieve your loss as well. But there are all these different types of loss that are around us. I hate to say the word, especially now, through all this bullshit we've just been through, or that we've been going through constantly, you know, and everything that's going on the other side of the world. Like, oh my God, I can't, it hurts my heart. So sending prayers of protection to each and every person on the other side of the globe, giving strength to those who need strength, those who are still here on this earth that have, or this on this side of the earth that have loved ones in Israel. I just, you know, breaks my heart. But we've got to hold them up in prayer and know that God has a bigger plan, whether we agree with it or not. And pray that that loving spirit will give you peace through your grief instead of grief through your grief. So, you know, and I thought there was another quote. That David, where is it? Hold on, I got to find it. So David Bowie had a quote that he said, he wanted his death to be as interesting as his life. So think about that. How interesting of a life did David Bowie have? And his quote was, I want my death to be as interesting as my life. And I feel like that's a good way to look at it. How interesting is your life? Instead of grief giving you grief and being laser focused on it, let's get some things done. Let's have some conversations and then, right? Makes sense? All right. So, analysis of death is not for the sake of becoming fearful, but to appreciate your precious life, from the Dalai Lama. And I certainly feel like that is a big thing. You want to appreciate the life that you are living right now. And I always end my Tuesday talks at 10:30 with saying, I pray that you're living the life you love and loving the life you live. If not, you're the only one that can change it. So this is that analysis of death before you die. Are you appreciating the precious life that you have right now? Are you enjoying your life? Are you sharing fun things or loving anecdotes with those that are close to you? What's going to be said about you? I almost feel like, and you know, for those of you who know me well, I almost feel like I need to write a monologue for my funeral that, you know, gets people up and talking and gets them laughing and because one of my biggest fears is someone's, anybody want to share anything? And nobody say anything. Think this old girl won't be going, excuse me, someone needs to talk. I'll be pushing chairs. I'll be doing whatever. So, I know this kind of went around in circles and I apologize for that. But I feel like that's exactly what grief does. It goes around in circles. There's no right, no wrong way. There's no positive. There's no negative. There's no A, B, C. It just jumps all over the places. I feel like I've spoken to you about this. But I truly feel like you need to analyze your life that you have right now so that you see how precious it is. Talk about what your wishes are to your loved ones, so you can relieve a little bit of stress and grief for them, because they're going to be grieving the loss of who you are. You don't want them to go, oh my God, my mom had nothing in order. There was freaking papers everywhere. I'm a piler. I mean, I don't know if you can see I pile stuff. Hold on. I kind of hide my desk. And I actually like straighten it up before I come on Tuesday Talks, because I don't want you to see my mess behind me. But I'm a piler. Even my books on my bookshelf. Some go this way, some go this way, some go this way. I'm a piler. And I like when, when something happens to me, if my kids or my husband have to go through some of this stuff, they're probably like, oh my God, why did she keep this? Why does she have this? So I want to have little notes. I kept this because it was important to me. Read this line. Read through my books, because there's always fun little things in my books. So that's my conversation for today. Is grief giving you grief? Tell it to shut up. Allow yourself to appreciate the one that you love. Appreciate the life that you have, so that grief is precious, because it is the missing of something very special to you. Okay? So, November 30th, here at Hip Gypsy Emporium, gallery reading. November 27th and 28th, Bel Air, Maryland, with private and an intimate group, as well as December 11th and 12th in Bel Air. You can go to the event page on Facebook or my website. Everything should be up by now. Unfortunately, the gallery reading for tomorrow night at the Lodges at Gettysburg has been postponed. So that's going to be in March. Someone just said, I'm literally going through piles of paper. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Piles and piles of paper. And you don't want to throw it out because you might miss something. Why did they keep this? Absolutely. So I pray that you all are living the life you love. You're loving the life you live. If not, you're the only one that can change it. Give your family and friends lots of stories to tell at your celebration of life, at your funeral, at your going out party, however you want to call it. Make them remember you. Do the fun, crazy things. Be the insightful philanthropist that gives such good insight. For someone to say, and probably not, but for someone to say, oh my gosh, Stacy gave me the best advice. Stacy made me laugh because, oh my God, here's what she did. That's what my hope is for when I leave this earth, that I have touched a lot of lives, that I have a lot of people who feel like I made this a better place in their life. So, on that note, guys, I will talk to you next Tuesday at 10:30. I do have some events that are coming up, but I hope that you have a great and wonderful day today. And peace out. I love you very much, and make it a great day. All right. Bye-bye.